This boy's name is Jun-si. He was very happy that day because his mother had just given birth to his sister. He even went into the baby's room to see his little sister, but unfortunately, his arrival brought disaster. Because of him, his sister was swapped with someone else's baby. Many years later, Jun-si and his sister N-si grew up surrounded by parents who really loved them. Jun-si loved his sister so much and always pampered her. Every year, he always bought a birthday present for her, and even though he often pulled pranks on her, he devoted his attention to his only little sister. N-si's luck was the complete opposite of the girl named Shin-ai. She was the baby girl that was switched with her on the day she was born. Shin-ai lived with her mother selling noodles. Every day, she was always scolded because she couldn't help in their stall. This made her tend to feel annoyed because she was born into a poor family. She also had an older brother, but he didn't love her and always asked for money. One day, N-si saw Shin-ai and her brother asking her for money, so she decided to help, but instead of thanking her, Shin-ai got angry at N-si while thinking that she was just showing off her wealth. Even so, N-si was still willing to help because he couldn't imagine what it would be like to have an older brother who couldn't protect her. This also made her very grateful because she received the gift of an older brother like Jun-si. That day when N-si and her brother came home from school, she had a serious accident and was immediately rushed to hospital because her head was heavily injured. This is where a surprising fact began to emerge. At that time, N-si needed a blood donor, and strangely none of the family members matched her blood type. This oddity made her parents surprised, and finally, they found out that N-si was not their biological child. The next day, after N-si woke up, Jun-si came to visit and gave her a gift in the form of a CD player. He gave the gift so that she could get well soon. After thanking him for the gift, she told him that she had a dream where their parents said that she was not their biological child, but Jun-si just responded by laughing because he thought it was just nonsense. A few moments later, Jun-si found out that N-si's dream wasn't just a dream, but a bitter reality. A woman met his parents and claimed that her baby had been swapped with theirs, meaning that N-si was not Jun-si's biological sister. This truth made the whole family feel devastated. Of course, they couldn't just let go of N-si, but at the same time, they also wanted to meet their biological child. That day, after N-si was discharged from the hospital, the girl suddenly came and demanded her rights as the X-A family's biological child. She was Shin-ai. He asked N-si to leave because she knew that N-si didn't belong there and their fates had been changed. This incident made N-si feel very sad. She couldn't bear the sadness to accept this cruel fate and left the house to a tree she often visited to play. Soon, Jun-si came and comforted her. He promised that they would never be separated even though they were not siblings, and to show his promise, he carved his name under N-si's name on the tree. Then they promised to meet again someday. After Shin-ai lived in the X-A family house, N-si felt that she shouldn't be there in the first place and left without telling anyone to meet his biological mother. She arrived at his biological mother's noodle stall. When her mother found out that her biological child visited, she felt ashamed of herself because she was poor and worried that N-si wouldn't be able to live comfortably like she used to be. A few moments later, Mrs. Si came to take N-si to America. She said that she and her family were going to America so that Jun-si and Shin-ai could study in a better place. She also invited N-si to come with her, but N-si chose to stay with her biological mother to take care of her, so in the end, N-si refused Mrs. Si's offer. Years later, N-si grew up to be a very beautiful girl. She was willing to work a lot of jobs so she could earn money. This was done because she wanted to buy a house for her mother, and because she was so busy, she didn't think about having a boyfriend because the only thing on her mind was money. Apart from being beautiful, N-si also grew into a very intelligent woman. She was able to attract the hearts of her clients to buy the house he was selling, and that made N-si's friend feel amazed by him. One day, N-si and her friend came home from work and they happened to get stuck at the toll booth because the driver in front of them had forgotten his wallet. The queue was getting longer and longer. The man was Han Tai, a handsome son of a conglomerate. Despite that, N-si didn't seem to care at all. She wanted to be served immediately, so she also paid the toll for him too. This incident perplexed him because this was the first time he met a woman who wasn't fascinated by his looks, and because of that, he secretly took photos of her car's plate to find out her identity. Han Tai turned out to be Jun-si's close friend. Jun-si's return was presumed by Han Tai and his friends to get a job there, but his reason was nothing more than to see his beloved sister, N-si. That night, Han Tai actually met N-si again, who was invited by her friend to have fun after work. Of course, N-si's friend wanted to meet Han Tai, who was quite popular. When they were having a party, Han Tai suddenly played a song that reminded N-si of Jun-si, thinking he was her brother who had left long ago. Unfortunately, she was wrong. Han Tai was just another person who happened to meet her. After meeting N-si again, Han Tai immediately approached her. He reasoned that he wanted to pay off the toll fare yesterday, but she refused to accept it. In fact, she avoided him because she didn't want to deal with people like him. After that, N-si went straight to the tree where she engraved her and her brother's names. She cried there because she missed her family. After all, they had taken care of her and cared for her with great love. The next day, N-si went back to work. That day, she worked as a crab cracker for rich people who happened to be Han Tai's friends. At first, Han Tai let her do N-si's work, but over time, his friends began to insult N-si because she was not from the upper class. In the end, Han Tai couldn't accept it and defended NC. NC said that he didn't need to feel sorry for her and immediately left. Han Tai followed her because he felt he owed NC something, so he wanted to pay it off, but NC refused to accept it and said that she was willing to help. Besides, she needed to leave there because she had more important things to do. It turned out that the music player given by Junsi was broken, so she took it to be repaired, but the repairman refused to do that because the parts were too old and hard to find. However, because NC was a loyal customer, he decided to help her. It wasn't long before Junsi also came there. He wanted to repair the same CD player. After seeing the CD player, the repairman was shocked because he had just received an order belonging to the exact same device from someone before Junsi. Junsi believed that NC had just left there. Junsi immediately looked for MC. After being here for so long, Jung-se finally got a clue to NC's whereabouts, even though they had to go around the entire city of Junsi. He wanted to meet her so much. That wish came true when they finally passed each other in the middle of the road. They decided to go to a cafe to have a chat and ask about each other after being apart for so long. NC felt like she couldn't bear his longing, so she ran away from Jung-se. NC drank a lot and poured out all his feelings to Junsi. She was angry, but at the same time, NC also wanted his presence. Meanwhile, Junsi, who was patient, continued to follow and wait for NC to relieve her disappointment until she finally fainted, feeling tired. The next day, NC woke up in her old house. She was surprised because it turned out that the house wasn't sold. Junsi told her that his parents had sold all their property here but this house as a memory of their family, though it had been heavily damaged. NC was about to leave when Junsi invited her to come with him. It turned out that Junsi took NC to a place where he kept a gift he wanted to give to her. Even though they had been separated for a long time, he still remembered her and hoped that one day he would be able to meet her again. Since they were a kid, Junsi once promised to give her a birthday gift every year. NC was touched that her longing wasn't unrequited. The fact that they were not siblings made them want to be closer than just siblings. Since then, they started spending time together. NC was happy now she could be with Junsi again. Unfortunately, that happiness disappeared when a woman suddenly introduced herself as Junsi's girlfriend, while Junsi didn't deny it at all. Knowing that, NC decided to bury her feelings deeply. Meanwhile, NC and Shin-ai finally met after many years. Shin-ai claimed that she had a special relationship with Han Tai, but Han Tai denied it and said that he didn't have a relationship with anyone and that Shin-ai's arrival was to look for Junsi because their mother was sick. The next day, Shin-ai wanted to get closer to Han Tai. She thought that she had a chance to be his girlfriend, but Han Tai rejected her because he liked NC and he didn't want to look at any other girl anymore. This annoyed her, feeling that NC took everyone from her. After finding out that NC and Junsi were not as close as before, Han Tai began his move to get closer to her. He took NC for a walk and started talking about his family. It turned out Han Tai was the only child of a rich family. He was lonely after his parents divorced and had their own families. Therefore, he tended to spend more time with his friends, but now he wanted to spend his time with NC. Behind Han Tai's arrogant and self-willed attitude, he is extraordinarily kind-hearted. He was a regular donor to a nursing home and everyone there knew him well, and because it was the first time that Han Tai had invited a woman there, they welcomed her enthusiastically, hoping that Han Tai would be her partner in his life. Han Tai got more serious about approaching NC. He even asked Junsi about NC's childhood, but Junsi didn't want to answer because he was jealous. At this moment, Han Tai realized that they were competing to get her heart. The next day, Han Tai was even more determined to approach NC. He was willing to do anything to cheer her up. This made NC's friends happy because finally there was a man who could break through NC's cold heart. Han Tai finally dared himself to confess his feelings for NC. He said that he liked her because of her sincerity, but when NC wanted to answer him, he stopped her and asked her to think about it first. The next morning, Shin-ai suddenly came to NC's noodle stall to meet her mother, so NC left the shop and gave them both a chance to let go of their longing, because after all, Shin-ai had been cared for by her mother, and even though she hadn't seen her for a long time, she still had a special place in her heart for the mother who had taken care of her. Meanwhile, NC met Mr. and Mrs. C. Mrs. C told her that she was sick because she missed her too much, so she told Junsi to look for her, and because she was sick of waiting, she decided to return from America to meet her. From all the events that had happened, NC was secretly sick. Her body was weakening from day to day due to a disease inherited from her biological mother. She was in dire need of a bone marrow donor, but unfortunately, no one was a suitable donor for her, so she refused to be treated. She knew that her life wouldn't be long, so she just wanted her family to be happy, but the people around her didn't stay still. Han Tai redecorated her room and collected her stuff. Junsi also helped to welcome her home from the hospital. After seeing Junsi's love for NC, Junsi's girlfriend chose to back down because no matter how hard she tried to get his attention, she could never get it because she knew that his feelings were only for NC. A few days later, NC asked to return home, so Junsi and Han Tai picked her up from the hospital. When they got home, they showed NC's room, which had been cleaned. Even Han Tai had also bought a house for her and her mother, like what she dreamed of. After that, they brought her to the place where her gifts were placed. All the gifts had previously been sold, and now they were bought again by Han Tai. All these efforts showed their great love and concern for her and touched her heart. Finally, the two proposed to her and asked her to choose. In the end, In-si chose Jun-si because, from the very first, Jun-si was her first love. She could finally enjoy the rest of her life with the man she loved.